Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of My Thoughts. So, last night I saw Star Trek Beyond, and it was phenomenal. I did not like the other two films in the reboot series. I thought Star Trek 2009 was garbage, and I made a video about why I thought it was garbage. And I thought Into Darkness was even worse garbage. Like, 2009 was at least a good action movie. Into Darkness was a shitty movie and a shitty Star Trek movie. So I was not confident about Beyond until the second trailer, when I was like, this feels like Star Trek. It feels like an episode of the show. And the movie did. Spoilers, obviously. They had Kirk giving a captain's log. They had like a little funny, they started in the middle of a mission like they would on an episode, and it would be funny. And it was just amazing. Everyone was perfect, and I think if I only had one complaint, it would be that I kind of predicted, the ending and the identity of the main villain, like, really early on, just because it was Star Trek, so I knew what was gonna happen. Oh god, I love this movie. I went to see it with one of my friends, and like the movie ended, and he was sitting next to me, and I looked at him and I went, this is a Star Trek movie, and I think it's the best movie of 2016, to be honest. It was everything I had hoped for and more. There were a lot of good things in it. Another complaint is that, obviously, I said spoilers before, but now I'm really going to get into spoilers. Idris Elba's character, Krall, another revenge-driven villain, which is something that pissed me off, because Star Trek 2009 had Nero, driven by revenge. Into Darkness had Khan, driven by revenge. I want a different villain. We're getting the same villain every movie, and Krall's cool. He's a cool villain, and he's a lot more fearsome than either Nero or Khan, but still revenge. Can we get maybe another cosmic threat, or the Klingons, maybe? Because they don't fight for revenge, they fight for honor. Revenge is not honorable. So I thought the cinematography was brilliant. I especially enjoyed it wasn't fancy camera work like it's been in the last two movies. It was more focus on the actors than the camera, which I like, because, with the camera moving around and like the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, like, it's the sort of like action movie trope where like that happens, and it's like, come on, give me, it's Star Trek, you don't need fancy camera tricks, and I enjoyed it. Spoilers, even though it was in the trailer, they destroyed the Enterprise in the third movie again. I don't understand why these movies are ripping off aspects of the original movies. Star Trek 2009. A crappy plot, and more focused on the effects than anything else. Or the visuals, rather. Into Darkness. Khan. This one, destroy the Enterprise, but with the exception that, as opposed to Star Trek 3 and 4, where we had to wait to see the Enterprise A, we get the Enterprise A at the end. It looks the same, basically. They didn't show us the inside, which is a shame, because I'm hoping they fixed the bridge and made it not look like the frickin' I Enterprise. But it was good. If you're a big Trek nerd like me, and you're kind of pedantic about it, I was trying to figure out the word. There are a couple things that are going to irk you about this movie. They make a lot of references to the Franklin, the ship they find on Krall's planet, being the first Warp 4 spaceship, which is wrong, because the NX-01, I think the NX-01 could do Warp 5. It could at least do Warp 4. I know that because they were trying to break Warp 1 and 2 in during the NX test trials in First Flight, so I can't imagine they would have sent. I mean, I feel like it did Warp 4 at least. I could be wrong, but I've seen a lot of people complaining about how the Franklin sort of goes against the continuity of Enterprise. But they did tie it into Enterprise. They mentioned the Xindi and the Mako, which are things that have never been mentioned outside of Enterprise, and I think that was great. The uniforms look great. My favorite are the field jackets, but I like the new duty uniforms where, like, they're sort of like a perfect marriage of the formalness of the Wrath of Khan uniforms and the TOS uniforms. You know, I like it. They're flat. I also like how we got, more into the dynamic of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, because they didn't really get to interact all that much in the last two movies. I mean, really the most of it was, are you out of your Vulcan mind? Are you out of your corn-fed mind? That was the most really interaction they got with the three of them together. But I enjoyed it. We had Spock and McCoy really talking. There was a touching tribute in the movie to Leonard Nimoy, and they dedicated the movie to Anton Yelchin, which was fantastic. And one of the last scenes in the movie, big spoilers here, early in the movie, Spock is told that Leonard Nimoy's Spock, Ambassador Spock, died. And it's kind of funny because his thing, it says 2230 to 2263, which is when the movie takes place. So it's like, he looks damn good for 33, because they didn't factor in his, I guess maybe he kept his identity, from the future a secret, so he didn't establish that he was actually over 100 when he came to the past. But there's a scene at the end where Spock is going through Ambassador Spock's effects, and he finds this picture of the original Enterprise crew during, I think it was a publicity shot for Star Trek V. Star Trek 4, Star Trek 5, I think. And it's a picture of them, and it's like I was smiling, because it's the first time we've seen anyone except Leonard Nimoy in these movies. I was kind of hoping that we were going to get the fabled Kirk birthday message, which was a rumor that went around with that Star Trek 2009 would have had a scene where Leonard Nimoy's Spock would have played a birthday message that he got prior to Kirk's death in the Nexus. Prior to Kirk going into the Nexus, where it would be him talking. And I don't think that was ever actually going to happen, but it would have been, I was kind of hoping it would in this movie. But the movie was fucking phenomenal. I enjoyed it. I was in the movie, and you know what? It was a 2-hour movie, and I didn't even realize how much time had passed until I, glanced at my watch, and I was like, oh, we're an hour and a half into this movie, and it felt like 20 minutes. I've seen complaints online that, it's not Star Trek enough. I think it was Star Trek enough. It had humor. It wasn't about, angst and stuff, Sure, there was, action and, crap, but we had fun. And one of my biggest problems with, the first movie was the fucking car chase with the Beastie Boys Sabotage, which it took me out of the immersion so quickly after an admittedly beautiful action scene with the Kelvin. The first 10 minutes of that movie are good, or however long until the titles start. But, once that car chase happens, I was like, I don't like this movie anymore. So they played the same song, Beastie Boys Sabotage, and it was used, I think it's diegetically, it was used in the movie, and it was used, to greater effect here as sort of like a Deus Ex Machina at the end, it was kind of a MacGuffin, where they discovered it early on in the movie, and then it was like, oh, they need something that plays on a radio frequency, so they had, Beastie Boys, which was cool. I honestly, I can't say enough my praises for this movie. I don't really want to say more because I want you to experience it for yourself and see it, because it's such a good movie. If you hated 2009 and Into Darkness, you're gonna love this movie, because like when I saw Into Darkness for the first time, I hated it. But this movie I loved. I was smiling the whole time. The last time I watched a movie where I was smiling the whole time was The Force Awakens. So it's great. It's a fantastic movie. And you know what? Before the movie came out, I was hoping that, let's hope this is the last one. They don't make any more reboots. I hope they get Simon Pegg and Doug Jung back to do the next movie, because it was awesome. Keep J.J. Abrams and Roberto Orci and Kurtzman and Damon Lindelof, keep them far away from Star Trek. They don't know what the hell they're doing. Simon Pegg and Doug Jung know what they're doing. They need to make the next movie, or the next movie is going to go back to being repetitive crap. So, those are my thoughts about Star Trek Beyond. Post in the comments if you've seen the movie and you liked it. Tell me what you think. Am I wrong? Was it not a Star Trek movie? I thought it was. And I will see you in the next video. See you then. Thank you all for watching, and if you liked the video, you can hit subscribe and watch one of my other videos. My videos can be found on any of these fine sites, and if you want to help out, maybe consider supporting the show on Patreon. See you next time.